for another episode of the Spotlight Podcast with Mr. Dan Vogel. Thanks so much for coming, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you here. So my understanding of your background and your superpower is media management, analytics, segmentation, predominantly for e-commerce brands, right? That's most of your business.
E-commerce, yeah, and lead generation companies as well. Yep.
Yeah. I feel like I'm super grateful to have you here because there's 10,000 agencies that claim that they can work with e-com and like make you tons and tons of money. But you're one of the only ones I've talked to in the last 35 days that's doubled their client base. So you're doing something right.
Yeah. Thank you. I guess so.
Well, people are going to want to hear from you. So we're lucky to have you here. So goal for the show, we're going to present a buyer journey to you that we made for a company that's completely fictitious, has nothing to do with what they're actually doing. But our goal is to kind of showcase a little bit of your brain here so people can learn a little bit from Dan. And hopefully if they like what they hear, they reach out to you directly and you get even busier.
So I love it.
All right, cool. So let me pull this up for you. So this company is called Astronaut Foods. This is a real company. This is a fake buyer journey. They don't do any of these things. I just came up with this myself. But they are a real company. And if you were their CMO and I came to you and said, here's what the buyer journey looks like, upper funnel, like what astronauts eat, how do we get people exposed to them? And then how do we actually capture their information?
Yeah.
Like how would you react to it? Where would your mind go?
It looks like they got some good pockets of the journey here. It looks like they do a good job of creating content and potentially even nurturing a little bit and helping people convert. But there's a clear gap here of capturing your prospective clients. In this instance, it looks like they have the content where there's one opportunity there to capture prospective clients' email addresses. That's a good spot to do it. I think if people are reading about what you offer and what the benefits are of your product and how amazing Astronaut ice cream is, then you should probably be trying to capture their email address so you can always serve them more information and more content about that later. And then that's kind of like a more obvious one. There's also other opportunities to capture email addresses and other information about your clients. You can also capture it on...
Well, dig in there, other information, because I see like these guys, this looks pretty standard. I mean, that's what I created based on. Everyone does that. Hey, come to my site and then subscribe to get 10% off. It's like the same step on every single store.
Right.
When you and I were talking, you talked a lot about the value of segmentation, which I think is just massive. But I don't think people think ahead and they're like, what do I need to do segmentation?
Right.
Talk us through how you think about that.
That's a good point. It's really important for companies to kind of plan out. A lot of companies, they don't really plan backwards the right way. They usually just kind of jump to like, oh, I see someone else doing this. We should do it. But the truth is, not all of your prospective clients are the same. Not everyone is at the same spot in their journey. Not everyone's looking for the same thing. So right there's already 2 to 4 iterations of different paths you could serve to different audiences and segments within the audience you're capturing. Understanding, there's some simple ones for capturing email. In addition to capturing email, maybe there's the simple ones that people most capture is birth dates, but also are you a store looking to buy for your store? Are you an end consumer that's just looking to buy online for a midnight snack of Astronaut ice cream? I don't know. Maybe you want to find out some more interest about why they're buying this and what makes them different from why they might want to buy from a competitor instead. So there's things you can learn about your audience that will help you serve different types of content to them to help nurture them along if they're not ready to buy quite yet, which is the big key.
And in your experience, you probably heard this all the time, you add another form field and conversion rate drops off. But in your experience, would you say the benefit of having that information dramatically outweighs any conversion drop?
That's interesting because I feel like I am such a proponent of the least amount of friction possible. So typically when I'm building forms for websites, and usually there's a lot more questions on there, I like to try to remove questions, but to your point, that also provides lower quality. The least amount of friction makes it kind of simpler for people to fill it out. And if they're less engaged in the beginning, they're being less engaged throughout the kind of nurturing and buying process as well. So yes, adding more questions. Well, while it may cost more upfront to capture that prospective buyer, the rate of conversion will also go up, and it should pay off in the long run.
So you're pretty much always setting up forms to capture some information beyond just contact. Like you're never using just name and email.
That's usually an option, but typically there's more to it. Typically we're adding in, depends. Like for me, this is a little bit different example for this buyer, but other buyers where, let's use an example where you're trying to get somebody in the home services space and you want to know what kind of job they're looking, what kind of like help they need in their house. Understanding, is it a remodel or is it a new build or is it a something along those lines? Anything else that will help you kind of segment will be helpful. So names, when they're looking to do the job, because if someone's looking to do the job sooner than later, that's probably a more valuable lead for a buyer. Other pieces of information that could be helpful. I mean, it's so different for every industry, but
yeah, every site. But no, I think the theme I'm getting from you is that like you want to know what their interest is and where they are in the process.
Yeah,
which is ultra. I mean, we're trying to get people to think in sequence by showing the buyer journey. And you're bringing up the point that like not only do you need to think in sequence, but you need to ask your customers where they are, so you know where they are and how to communicate with them at that stage.
Yeah, and then
that's super valuable.
And then on top of that, like this is the part of marketing that some people feel iffy about, but there are a lot of platforms out there, like email platforms that kind of they can follow if users opt in to have cookies kind of follow them. These platforms, like email platforms, can kind of follow and see what users are doing on the website. In addition to what you're capturing in the beginning, you can get a sense of like, based on the content they're reading, you can also get a sense of like, do you think they're like now ready to move further down the funnel? And then you can serve them even different content based off of their activities. So it's more relevant for them and helpful. I know people feel like it sounds a little creepy, but from my experience, while they do feel that way, they also appreciate the different content being served them in the different stage.
Yeah, I think relevance is key. We use this internally. We use this analogy that the marketing journeys are just like dating. You never propose in the first date. But I think, particularly in the e-com category, a lot of people will be like 50% off. And it's like, you don't even know if they like your product yet or what they want.
I know
so the discount's not going to work.
I know the challenge is with giving away discounts. There's a couple of things. One is people expect that. So you're kind of like training them to always expect that. And then they're never going to buy from you full price almost. Like they're going to anticipate a discount at some point, and then you're almost devaluing your brand. Irrelevant to kind of what we're talking about, but I think that's important to note also that a lot of brands are like very discount happy, and then it just devalues the kind of lifetime value of their customers.
Yeah. We worked on this this home decor site. This is like 3-4 years ago. That had this really wild, like, I think the drop off from ads to cart to purchase was like 99.8%. So we're talking like thousands of people putting items into the cart. It did a ton of data analysis exactly. They were price shopping, but they were like all the way at the top of the funnel on an accessory product. Like this wasn't something they needed. It was something super, super optional for them. So we gave them tons of options and made it really easy for them to add to cart, but there was no incentive to buy beyond that because it's already low cost and they'll get it when they really want it. We spent a lot of money kind of proving that, but pretty wild behavior and kind of further emphasizing your point where like if we knew where these people were and we knew that they were just tire kicking, we'd probably spend a lot less money and time trying to market to them than the way that we did.
Yeah, it feels like they're not the right audience. Clearly,
but they're just not on the right stage. They're not on the right stage because adding to cart, there's some quality there, but they're all the way at the top of the buyer experience. Like they're seeing what's out there versus preparing to make a purchase.
And in that instance, did they eventually did a good chunk, like 5 or 10% eventually convert? Okay.
No, I think we were so off. Like we were assuming that these people were on the finish line. I mean, that's how we evaluated the add to cart, to your point, without any other data. That's all we could really assume. but painfully and retroactively real. Like they were just exploring the website and this was, oh, maybe I'll come back at some point. So just further emphasizes your point that when you capture data, before you try to draw conclusions on what it means, make sure you have information that can help you understand where that person is so you understand their behavior a little better.
Yeah. And understand what they're looking for so that you can serve the right information to them to help them make that decision. Depending how big the ticket item is or depending how much the product costs, like you had mentioned, like sometimes people might be willing to convert if it's like or purchase. I don't want to talk in like
yeah, marketers.
Marketing terms. They might be willing to purchase if it's a small ticket item, but it sounds like what you're saying is that that's not even always the case. If like
these were $9.
Yeah, that's wild.
$9. Yeah. It was a sort of thing where like, you don't need to buy it. Like,
yeah.
It's just an optional thing that maybe you can get. So it was really, really wild day. Like literally 1,500 people adding to cart and like handfuls buying. It was kind of crazy. But this has been great. Really good point. If you're the CMO, I'm going to make sure there's really clear information on what data we're capturing. And if folks want you to be their CMO, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I guess my LinkedIn handle is Dan Vogel 01. You can go to my website, dbvmarketing.com. Those are all places to find me. And my email seems silly to kind of say out my email, but
we'll put it right at the bottom here.
Great.
So you're going to get tons of emails directly from the podcast.
Oh, geez.
Thank you so much for coming by. Give us some insight and talking to us about the importance of segmentation.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Nice.